Well, it's absolutely fascinating to think of what impact this is having on our behaviours individually and with other people. We're going to speak now to Andrea Chatton, an emotional and behavioural psychologist, alongside Julia Samuel, who's a psychotherapist and author. Welcome to both of you.
Mm-hmm.
Does this outbreak bring out the best in us or the worst in us? Because I've seen a bit of both. We've seen people checking in with each other, offering to help each other out, keeping an eye out for more vulnerable people, but equally we've seen very selfish attitudes towards things like toilet roll, hand sanitisers, Calpol, for example, paracetamol. What do you think?
I mean, I think it pulls us in both directions, because on the one hand we want to survive, but on the other hand it forces us to kind of look at life again about what really matters, and what matters is those that we love and care about, and also we're in something together that we kind of levels us all out, and it takes us away from our kind of obsession of getting through what our own particular target is, and it might make us be kinder and more connected to people. So I think it does both.
It would appear, Andrew, looking around at the way people are leading their lives, that people are able to cope with, if you like, the emotional part of this. Some of it is outside of your control, which are the things to do with, the government's planning and that kind of thing, in terms of the way we are with each other.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because in the last couple of weeks, when I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, I think there was an ambivalence about people kind of like, do I need to do this? Do I not need to do this? And some people were on the heightened side of going into more panic, and some people were like, oh, it's going to be fine. And even in the last couple of weeks, I think that people are moving more to now recognising the need for doing the action. And we need to make sure that we keep that action in the right kind of place and move it to getting what we need from this situation, but not moving into unhealthy brackets.
We talk a lot about changing behaviours. We've heard about the government consulting behaviourists about encouraging us to change our patterns of living, in particular when it comes to personal hygiene and hand washing. But how long does it really take to develop new habits like that? How do we do it?
It takes a long time, actually. It takes a long time. And normally with what's happening with this is we're being externally motivated to try and change these behaviours. We've all been touching our face and doing these things that we do instinctively, emotionally. It's part of our everyday life. So part of this, breaking that behaviour, is first of all, it's noticing that we do it. But what we're missing, or what we have been missing, is there are a couple of stages before behaviour change. There's a pre-contemplation stage where we're not really aware of the issue. And then there's a contemplation stage where we kind of sit in that and we recognise that might be a need to do something different. But what's happened with this is that the government has thrust us to the action stage without us having had that contemplation stage. However, I do think we are now, because of the information that we've been getting, people are more committed to doing these behaviours now. So we are seeing more positive action to try and prevent the further spread of it, rather than before people maybe being a little bit too blasé.
Julia, I don't know how this is evidenced, but on the face of it, it would seem that the most vulnerable people, which in this situation are the elderly, are often the most stoical.
Yeah, I think they do have a bit of a blitz spirit that maybe some of us younger, well, I'm not the younger one, but younger ones may not have. And I think they're not so expressive of how they feel. They don't wonder about how they feel. They're much more, let's get on and get going, keep calm and carry on. And, so that will serve them in many ways, but it will also, if they shut down too much, it would do them harm too. So
that's an interesting point, isn't it? And isolation in these situations, if we are talking about large numbers of people for all the right reasons, being in their own homes for a period of maybe 7 days or so, and that will include older people who will be possibly already isolated. There are real risks around that, aren't there?
Yeah, I mean, there's real mental health issues, and your immune system breaks down when you have when you're isolated. That being connected to people is one of the big life health benefits. And some of them won't have kind of iPads or computers to go online with people, so they'll have to do it by telephone. So they'll have to do as much as they can by telephone to connect with people, so that they don't... Because when you're on your own, you build up these stories in your head on your own that can get bigger and bigger until you kind of picture your own funeral very, very fast. So you need other people to help kind of bring you back to reality, help you take a breath, calm you down. And in real terms, in families, it's like, let's make a cup of tea, you know, let's be nice to each other, let's do a jigsaw puzzle, sort of distract yourself.
What I think is fascinating here is that the government is trying to sort of keep a lid on this and take things quite piecemeal, slightly different approach from other countries. And yet it feels like the country is moving ahead, one step ahead of what the government is suggesting and already starting to kind of social distance. How long do you think we can buy into that for before people start getting frustrated, and particularly if there's an impact on the economy, people's incomes are being hit, real stresses about how they're going to survive financially through this period? That's what worries me. You know, we're all kind of pulling together now, but a month or 2 months down the line, do the cracks begin to show?
I think it is going to have a big impact on well-being. People tend to be quite good in a crisis, and I think we're seeing that. People are pulling together, and interestingly, over the last few weeks, I've noticed that there's what used to be kind of like a uncomfortable handshake, even with people. I've met some head teachers in school this week, and we're going straight in for the, and there's elements of humour coming in, that resilience at this time of crisis. But our emotions tend to have a bit of a lag. So when this does start moving a little bit into more favourable, we might find that we all go, that was a tough time, and the impact of it we start to feel then.
Good to see you both here this morning. Andrea, Julia, thank you very much. I'm sure we will talk again.
Thank you.
Over the weeks.
I feel like we need you every day, to be honest, at the moment.
And to also talk about the behaviours that you can do that can help calm you down when you feel panicked.
Just give us one tip then.
So one tip would be, if you can't go outside, to do some kind of, there's a 12-minute app where you get your heart rate up, because your anxiety feels like fear, and if you take exercise, it tells your body you've flown, so it calms your whole body down.
Keep moving is a great.
And then follow that with a breathing exercise where you breathe in for 7 and out for 11. Because what you want to do, this is going to be a long haul, you need endurance. So you need to kind of keep your system regulated and calm when you have no control over everything else.
In for 7, out for 11.
In for 7, out for 11. One last thing would be to try and focus your attention on today and tomorrow, and don't project into the future, because you can drive yourself mad with that.
And be kind to yourself as well.
Yeah.
Don't be too harsh on yourself when you get it wrong. We're going to touch our face. Be kind.
Yeah.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.